as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform.
Bill Maher didn't hold back when revisiting Will Smith's infamous Oscar slap. Rubbing salt in the wound with a brutal, laugh-out-loud takedown of Smith's so-called tough guy act, he roasted him relentlessly, exposing that brief outburst of bravado as nothing more than cheap theater, and reminding everyone that the moment, far from heroic,
the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind. Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's Zapruder film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots.
You heard the man, and he's right. Jokes have been under attack for a while now. The woke crowd started by policing movies, deciding what could be made and what should be banned. And now they've turned their attention to comedy, trying to dictate which jokes are acceptable and which should be silenced, as if their mission is to drain the fun out of everything. But Bill Maher isn't about to sit quietly while free expression gets strangled. And fed up with the mob's ever-growing blacklist of forbidden laughs, he decided it was time to step in with his voice and his fire.
Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a "some shit is like some other shit" joke. He said to Jada Smith, "Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu."
This part is actually pretty interesting, because I'll admit I never looked at it from that angle before. I knew about the G.I. Jane movie, but it didn't even cross my mind that Chris Rock's jab was tied directly to the shaved head look in the film and Jada's haircut that night. A simple connection many of us overlooked, but the bigger takeaway is that jokes are jokes. They're not meant to be dissected like state policy. Sometimes they sting, sometimes they don't, but either way, we need to toughen up and take them, even when they hit close to home. That's comedy raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic. Now, let's keep the clip rolling.
Is also a staple of comedy, and in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothy Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons. Who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute.
Award shows have practically become open hunting grounds where comedians and hosts take aim at rich, powerful celebrities, and at this point, it's almost expected. Part of the entertainment is watching stars who usually live in luxury and soak up endless praise get knocked down a peg or two with a sharp joke. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole ritual of roasting people in front of millions. But at the end of the day, it's a free world, and comedy has its place. If that means someone's ego or feelings take a hit, so be it. That's just the risk of sitting in the...
This joke was received as funny. As evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Here's the part that really confuses everyone. Will Smith actually laughed at Chris Rock's jab about his wife, at least at first. But the moment Jada shot him that icy glare, his whole demeanor flipped, and we all know what happened next. That split-second shift speaks volumes about the dynamic between Hollywood and the woke crowd. Deep down, many celebrities don't truly believe in every woke, cause they loudly parade. But like Smith caving under pressure, they're coerced into compliance. The unspoken threat is always their step out of line and risk your reputation, maybe even your career. It's not conviction driving them, it's fear, plain and
laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not funny!"
Will Smith might have believed in that split second that the manly thing to do was stand up for his wife and prove he wouldn't tolerate an insult directed at her. And on the surface, that can sound noble, but look closer and it was anything but. What unfolded on the Oscar stage wasn't courage, it was capitulation. Real masculinity isn't about slapping someone on live television. It's about holding firm to your convictions, even when the pressure is on. Instead, Smith abandoned his own initial reaction, laughing at the joke hand folded under the icy glare of his wife. That single look rewrote his script, and in an instant, he conformed. What was framed as a bold act of love ended up looking like weakness, exposing a man more concerned with appeasing Jada's expectations than staying true to himself.
Must end. Will Smith didn't get kicked out of the Oscars for going Ike Turner on Chris, but Kevin Hart got kicked out of hosting it for a joke. Who are these people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing? Just among comedians who've gotten fired and lost gigs for exercising their freedom of expression, the toll is high. Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin were tasteless. So what? That's why we like them.
Joke may have been tasteless, unfunny, or even offensive, but that doesn't mean it warrants cancellation. Comedy has always thrived on the edge, pushing boundaries and making people uncomfortable. That's its very nature. If a comedian's material doesn't sit right with you, the answer is simple. Don't buy their tickets, don't stream their specials, and don't attend their shows. Comedy is subjective, and just because one group takes offense doesn't mean the rest of the world should be silenced. At the end of the day, comedians have the right to say what they want, whether the punchline lands or not. And if they truly cross into illegal territory, that's when the proper authorities, not Twitter mobs or cancel crusaders, should step in. Until then, the best response is clear. If you don't like it, tune it out and move on. That's real freedom of choice.
We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend.
Story really stood out because her controversial blackface sketch wasn't meant to demean or mock black people, but to shine a harsh light on racism itself and the deep scars it leaves on individuals and society. She used satire, one of comedy's oldest and sharpest tools, to deliver a message bigger than the joke. But as so often happens, the ever-sensitive woke crowd missed the nuance entirely. Instead of engaging with her intent, they fixated on the imagery, chose outrage over context, and came after her with full force. The irony is that in trying to spark a conversation about racism, Silverman became a target of the same cultural policing that shuts down meaningful dialogue. Her story shows just how unforgiving the woke mob can be, even toward those who are fighting on the same side.
Stage, but comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian.
This is where things get really interesting and honestly a bit absurd. Comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage in the middle of his set. Not for mocking the woke crowd, but for making a joke that actually leaned in their favor. Think about that for a second. How does that even make sense? It's as if the woke crowd has reached a point where nothing can satisfy them. Take a jab at them and you're in trouble. But even if you try to make a joke that aligns with their worldview, that somehow offends them too. In other words, comedians are walking a tightrope with no safe footing. Damned if they do, damned if they don't. Patel's experience makes it clear that this isn't really about the content of the joke anymore. It's about policing comedy itself, and that's dangerous territory.
You can't take a joke now aren't old ladies in the Bible Belt. They're Gen Z at elite colleges. Colleges where comedy goes to die. Kids used to go to college and lose their virginity. Now they go to lose their sense of humor.
It's shocking how far colleges have strayed from their original purpose. They were meant to be bastions of free thought, places where debates thrived, ideas clashed, and students grew sharper by engaging with perspectives different from their own. That was the essence of higher education: exposure to competing ideologies in order to develop critical thinking. But today, many campuses have turned into echo chambers, so steeped in wokeness that opposing views aren't just unwelcome, they're treated as threats. Students are being conditioned to shut down dissent instead of grappling with it, to see disagreement as an attack rather than an opportunity to grow. The result is a generation increasingly impervious to other ideologies, not because their arguments are stronger, but because they've been shielded from real intellectual challenge, and that should worry everyone.
Who revealed that before a comedian even takes the stage, they're asked to edit out anything from their act that may cause offense, leaving a world where more and more topics are off limits, and soon there'll be nothing left to joke about except airline food and Starbucks getting your name wrong.
It's a good thing that Donald Trump is pushing colleges to clean house when it comes to professors who focus less on educating and more on indoctrinating. For years, universities have faced criticism for allowing faculty to turn classrooms into political pulpits, shaping young minds to accept one ideology while shutting out all others. Education should be about teaching students to think critically, debate openly, and form their own conclusions, not drilling them with one-sided propaganda. By calling out this problem and pressuring institutions to remove those who cross that line, Trump is demanding long overdue accountability. College should never be a place where curiosity is stifled. It should be a training ground for free thought. Clearing out indoctrinators is a necessary step toward restoring balance and real learning in higher education. At the end of the day, comedy, free speech, and education all suffer when the woke mob dictates what can and cannot be said. From Will Smith's slap to Sarah Silverman's satire, from Nimesh Patel's cancelled set to college campuses silencing debate, the pattern is clear. Fear and censorship are replacing courage and conversation. Whether it's comedians, celebrities, or students, people are being pressured to conform. Real progress only comes when open dialogue is allowed, even when it stings. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.